So you want to make gel food for your goldfish. This is Bubba eating some gel food right now. And you don't know how to make it. Well, I'm going to tell you how to make it. I'm also going to tell you a good brand that I like to use for gel food occasionally. Gel food is good because if you have a goldfish that's very susceptible to swim bladder disorder, gel food is probably one of the easiest foods you can feed to be easier on their swim bladder because there's really no air and stuff they gulp with it. It's all just dense, wet food. Also, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. Just do it now. I swear it'll be the best decision you make the rest of your life, really. So I like to use Repashy. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm never good at pronouncing things. You guys should know that now, by now. A lot of good ingredients. So it has like krill meal. It has algae. It has some, I think, black fly larvae ground up in there. So all things like, fish protein, algae, bug protein, things they would eat in nature, and then a lot of good, like vitamins and minerals and stuff that just kind of is necessary for their survival. So really great, 10 out of 10 on the ingredients, really good ingredients. Basically, all you got to do to prepare it is get some boiling water, like 2 to 3 parts boiling water, and then 1 part of the powder. Then the powder is inside this package here. And once you mix those together, you'll have your food. So first, you want to get a pot boiling. And here's the thing, you can't measure the water out ahead of time because water, when it's heating up and when it's boiling, you have to make sure it's boiling, it'll evaporate. So just get a lot more water than you're going to need and make sure that's boiling ahead of time. And if you have that, then you'll be okay because you're going to measure out the hot water afterward. So while you have that boiling, you can basically measure out your powder. So this is where the protein and the nutrients are. This is the actual powder itself. And so I'm doing 2/3 of a cup in this. So this is a 1/3 measuring. So I'm going to put one of them in there. And then I'm basically just going to fill it up again and put a second one in there. And I like to just do this while the water is boiling to save time. It's not worth waiting until the water boils. It's better to do that while that's happening. But yeah, just get 2 of these things and put it in a separate bowl. Then once you have the water boiling, then you want to measure it out. So it's 2 to 3 parts per thing of, 2 to 3 parts of water per part of the powder. So I'm going to put 1 cup and 1/3, and that's 2 parts. And I actually end up doing 1 more third of a cup to make it in between 2 and 3 parts. And that basically gets a nice, good, solidified, like gel. And right after you put that in there, you want to mix as much as you possibly can. There will be chunks of this stuff in there, chunks of the dry powder, and you want to make sure you thoroughly get all that in there. So scoop on the sides, scoop on the bottom, and this thing's going to be a steamy, hot, fishy, algae smelling goop. It's gonna smell awful, all right? I don't like the way this thing smells. It smells like someone just ground up some fish and ground up some algae and just like stuck it right up your nose. But it is really good for the fish. It's got good ingredients. But yeah, definitely mix that up. And if you mix it up good enough, you'll have a nice kind of smooth goop. This goop, and it'll be super hot because it's with boiling water. And you want to let that sit for a moment. Once the top of it solidifies, put it in your fridge and just kind of let the whole thing solidify into a chunk. Because you don't want to start cutting it up until it's fully into a big solid chunk. Now I tried cutting this on camera, but I couldn't hold the camera in one hand and cut with the other, and I was too lazy to get my tripod out, so I just decided to film part of it, then cut the camera out and do it with both hands. But it's gonna be like this gel-like substance. But you can do cross cuts like this, and once you get cross cuts all the way down this way, you can basically do another cut on the other way. Then you're gonna end up with these little chunks. And again, I attempted to cut this with one hand, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it with one hand. So I started, and then I'm like, all right, forget it. I'm putting my phone down. I'm doing it behind the scenes. So this is what it looks like after you get it all cut up. It's all these little chunks. And from here, this is actually ready to go. You could just go and feed this. But the first thing I like to do is once it's all solidified, once I get it cut up, is just remove the chunks from each other. Separate them all out, separate into like a big kind of bowl of separated chunks. If you leave them together, they might actually end up wanting to stick together. They might want to kind of re-solidify and stick right together. So it's best if you separate them out into their individual chunks. And once you do that, then you're ready to go and you're ready to feed them. But yeah, these are what they look like. They're gonna be really sticky and slimy and kind of, like smell really bad. But that's what you do for your fish, But you can hand feed them. You can throw it in the tank. It'll sink. It'll go to the bottom, which is good. But your fish will absolutely love these. I just put this in there, and this is a great way to bond with your fish too. This is a great food for bonding with your fish. Sometimes it's kind of hard to bond with them if you're kind of dropping in pellets, but if you're holding a big chunk of gel food like this, it's a great way for them just to kind of come up to you and nibble it right out of your hand.
But
once you feed it, you want to make sure you store it. This is way too much for one feeding, so I actually like to store mine in the freezer. It'll last for like many months in the freezer. So put it all in there. Make sure you get all the chunks in the bowl in there, and then just go to the freezer. Kind of make sure it's kind of a little separated out. You don't want it being a one giant ball because it'll be hard to separate them. But you can freeze these things, and they're perfectly good to come back and break a chunk off and use it again. But my goldfish absolutely love them. This is Brad and Bubba kind of going around and eating them up. I think it's definitely it gives them some more stimulation. It's fun for them to kind of like kick it around and eat it. I feel like almost more so than pellets sometimes, but it is a lot more to prepare than pellets. It's not always very convenient, but definitely is something I recommend for bonding and just for fun of the goldfish. Gel food is great.